If you've been watching the markets lately, you know the stablecoin landscape is undergoing a massive, seismic shift. We are looking at a fascinating collision right now between the crypto native incumbents and the traditional finance giants. I mean, just look at this massive hit, minus 20%. Circle shares literally plummeted by as much as 20% almost immediately after a major market announcement, and they have yet to recover. That is a staggering blow for a company that has fundamentally defined the digital dollar space for years. This rapid plunge wiped billions of dollars from Circle's market value, just creating this atmosphere of absolute panic among investors. When you see billions evaporate that quickly, it forces a serious reckoning. The psychology of the market shifted in an instant. Investors looked at a single piece of news and collectively decided, okay, USDC's dominance is under an immediate existential threat. So to understand exactly why this happened and what the reality actually is, let's just quickly run through our roadmap for today. We'll cover 1. The billion-dollar panic. 2. Meet the rival, Open USD. 3. The multi-coin strategy. 4. Support versus true commitment. And 5. The future of digital dollars. Section 1. The billion-dollar panic. The market reaction. This perfectly illustrates the timeline of the panic. When Open USD was announced just a month ago, the market didn't wait for nuance. Investors quickly interpreted the backing of this new stablecoin as a direct, aggressive challenge to Circle. The fear wasn't just, a new player entering the arena. The fear was that the underlying infrastructure itself was being totally ripped out from underneath USDC. Section 2. Meet the rival. Open USD, the new contender. Let's see who this new rival actually is. When you look at these massive financial heavyweights backing Open USD, you've got Coinbase, Visa, Mastercard, and Stripe. These are the absolute gatekeepers of modern global commerce. So when players of this caliber align behind a project, it's incredibly easy to understand why the market reacted with such extreme anxiety about Circle's future. Imagine being an investor and seeing a launch list with over 140 partners backed by traditional finance titans. It's super easy to just assume the war is already over. The perceived threat was that these powerful networks would simply flip a switch, default their vast user bases to OpenUSD, and leave crypto-native issuers like Circle completely out in the cold. Section 3. The multi-coin strategy, the executive reality. Now, here is where the story actually pivots. So the market expected a total bloodbath, right? But if you actually listen to what the executives are saying on their earnings calls, reality paints a much, much more nuanced picture. These giants view stablecoins as infrastructure. They don't view them as sports teams that they have to exclusively root for. Take Coinbase, for example. During their recent earnings call, their CFO actually reassured investors that they had already met the conditions to renew their commercial agreement with Circle to keep growing the USDC ecosystem. Brian Armstrong made it crystal clear they want to support whichever stablecoins customers choose to use, whether that's USDC, Tether, PayPal's PYUSD, or OpenUSD. It's all about maximizing business opportunities for them, not picking a single favorite child. And Visa's CEO hits the exact same neutral tone. He treats these different stablecoins like different highways that their clients might want to drive on. Ryan McInerney explicitly stated their role is to help clients connect to whichever stablecoins gain adoption. Now, yes, Visa did just launch their Visa stablecoin platform, which uses OpenUSD as the initial token, but they remain fundamentally multi-coin and multi-chain. They're just laying down the asphalt. They really don't care what brand of car you choose to drive on it. Mastercard echoes this sentiment perfectly, highlighting that their main goal is providing choice rather than abandoning their existing support for USDC. Michael Miebach pointed out that Mastercard already supports USDC and other stablecoins, like the Paxos-led Global Dollar Network. To them, OpenUSD is just a payments-focused utility with shared economics. Choice has always been their absolute key criteria. Section 4. Support versus true commitment. Analyzing the nuance. So you might be wondering, if these giants aren't picking winners, what does being on a 140 partner list actually mean? Well, analysts from places like ARK Invest and Blue Chip Ratings note that joining a consortium like this is essentially a free option. A logo on a partner list is often just a soft letter of intent. It means these partners are reserving a seat at the table, but they aren't necessarily betting their chips yet. It lets them reap the benefits if OpenUSD takes off without committing meaningful distribution or balance sheet resources up front. Supporting a token is very different from committing the massive resources required to actually make it win. And here is the absolute reality check.
$72 billion. That is the deep liquidity USDC already commands right now, along with massive network effects. That is an overwhelming advantage, and it's incredibly difficult for any new consortium to just replicate. This is exactly what the initial market panic completely missed. You can't just wish $72 billion of deep liquidity into existence. Analysts emphasize that aligning the interests of 140 different partners is a monumental task. Meanwhile, USDC already has the structural integrations and the deep liquidity pools that make it highly functional today.
As analyst Rob Haydick explains, with Stripe acting as the driving force behind Open USD, networks like Visa and Mastercard literally have to remain neutral for their own commercial interests. They work with competing issuers all over the globe. Alienating partners by forcefully walling off a specific stablecoin would just be terrible business. They might push Open USD, sure, but structurally they absolutely must remain open platforms.
Section 5. The future of digital dollars, the shifting battleground. Let's look at where this is all heading. This shows how the competitive battle is evolving right before our eyes. It's no longer just about issuing a digital token. The era where a handful of crypto-native issuers dominated simply by creating a token, that's ending. It's now a race to control the exchanges and the financial platforms that actually put these tokens into users' hands. The new battleground involves banks, payment networks, and giant fintech firms entering the space as regulations get clearer. The real competitive moat now is securing those distribution channels, the consumer exchanges, the point-of-sale systems, and the traditional financial rails that bridge digital assets with everyday commerce. So as traditional finance and crypto-native giants continue to lay down these new global payment tracks, the ultimate question we have to ask ourselves is, who will control the digital wallet in your pocket tomorrow? Will it be the crypto-natives who pioneered the space, the traditional finance titans adapting to a new world, or a multi-chain reality where choice truly remains king? The initial panic over Circle may have been vastly overblown, but it perfectly highlighted the incredible stakes of this ongoing infrastructure war. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to keep a close eye on how these financial rails continue to evolve.